Hello, Savage Flight Crew. Uh, I wanted to reach out today to the team, to the followers and subscribers about a new award that we have created. And in this case, it's called the Gem. This award will be given nationally and eventually internationally. Uh, but right now, I wanted to make sure I honor those that were my champions. In addition to joining my father, who I'm excited to identify as going to the Hall of Fame at Poly, for him being a champion for all of us moving forward in the world of education and the integration, thanks to Justice Marshall. But that's another story. But in this case, we're talking about that circle of influence that impacted me and impacted many young men growing up. And we're going to have an award. But first, I wanted to honor the coaches by naming it after those coaches. In this case, as you see prominently behind me, is the GEM. Well, the GEM Award is based on two of the coaches, my high school coaches, the Wildcat coaches, a dynamic duo in two separate sports in different eras, but all in that same 4 year period. And in this case, I want to highlight Jim Welsh in the world of football. Coach Welsh, I'll go into it very briefly, in addition to Jim Ward on the track and football. And Coach Welsh was on the football field. So in that case, I want to let you know about each. Coach Ward, you have different personality types. Coach Ward was that guy, so you get the personality that we're looking for. He believed in us. He believed in growing young men. In both cases, they did. Different ways. Coach Ward, he kept that door open for everyone. Like example, we had 100 guys on the track team. So what was he doing? He was making sure he was reaching out and focusing on building men. And it's also important to keep us off the street. So if you had that passion and belief, no matter what your speed was, strength, or he made sure he kept the door open that you could be a member of that Wildcat unit. That was a hellacious team. Um, so that team that went and constantly competed for state championships, and he launched many to that next level. I won't say the names because you're always going to leave out someone. But most importantly, the personality of Coach Ward, who has left us a while ago, he made sure he was there for 100 kids to make sure, young men, that we were getting launched and we bonded together. Not always a bond, but especially when you're dealing with 100. But the key thing was we knew the tradition. We knew Coach Ward's way. You got three type of coaches typically: those who respect and focus on efficiency and technique and learning. Then you have others who focus on love and respect. And then you have others who focus on respect and knowledge. Coach Ward was one of those that focused on knowledge and love. So, with that being said, and both men as well got a spiritual base. And that's who we're going to give the awards to, for those who are uplifting young men or kids in general. Because typically you have three types of coaches. I always say those who about all kids, those who about their kids, and those about no kids. In this case, this award is about those who about all kids. So we will be announcing that over the course of the next video, but I wanted to make sure I highlight Jim Ward for his style and his brilliance on launching us. And another thing that Coach Ward, for example, would make sure we had that peer mentoring to make sure we didn't forget where we came from. So whether it was an Ed Simmons out there or the senior class, that made sure we understood that we weren't there yet. And those brothers were great at that. In your trials, he's like, okay, you got to bring it. So in that case, it's Simmons, and we'd have the Morgan State crew. Neville Hodge would come over, and they were still competing. So we knew what college looked like, and we knew what we were going to have to do to get there. It's something about, the truth will set you free. And really, when you think you are where you are, especially now, where realism is not focused on like it should be with all this professionalism and internationalism going on right now. So it's a shout out for Jim Ward. Now, Jim Welsh was a knowledgeable. He both came in as astronauts, pathfinders, leading a way, which wasn't highly defined because we were in the bridge when I went to school where you were just having, you had HBCs and then you had the Power Four and the institutionally white schools going on, and they were just coming to get you out of at the high schools. So you had to find a way to balance and move everyone through that audience where there were no rules. So it's kind of like right now with this internationalization and professionalism, but it was different. It was about how are you going to balance and find your champions to lead you in that next level. So Coach Welsh, he was going in the hood, basically. We're at public school. He made sure, at least for that period of time I was there, to try to launch and move us forward into a new way. So that's the two personalities, definitely learn how to run that option under Coach Welsh. Okay. He taught us technique along with Coach Barnes and staff. You had to find the way to play football right here. But he also gave you an understanding of some of the recruiting and connecting, in my case, to, the players that played before us to make sure he communicated in that way. Coach Ward, like I said, he made sure you understood as well technically, but at the same time, he made sure he did the social work, to make sure that everyone was getting touched and he saw us, no matter what the ability was. So I tip my hat to both Jim Ward and Jim Welsh. Coach Ward did track and football. Coach Welsh did the football. So we will be announcing first the Southeast coaches that we've selected for Savage Flight, the gym.